What are some of the other things that you do for sleep hygiene later in the day? Because I know everyone listening is probably really curious because again, they want, some remedies, some tactics, some strategies to help their sleep.
Yeah. Well, I try to have a regular exercise routine in the
Mm,
daytime, not at night, because that kind of revs
yes.
me up.
Yes.
Um, for most people, exercising before bed is not helpful for sleep, but some people it is. So you really have to
Exactly.
find your individual needs.
Yes.
For me,
Yes.
it's not. So I do
Mhm.
it in the day. But that movement and getting enough steps in the day, I try to get 8,000 a day and then getting to the gym, that helps me sleep better.
Mhm.
And I can
Mhm.
feel it if I, for any reason, travel or otherwise miss a couple of days, my sleep, I can feel the difference.
Mhm.
So that's a big one. The other thing is that I find that that emotion check in, what helps to dampen the nighttime racing is to actually name emotions as I go through the day. So
Mhm.
you're not really processing and managing all of them necessarily, but there's neuroscience to show that if you name them as they're coming up, that actually allows the amygdala in your midbrain to dampen its threat signals. And it allows you to be more in your frontal cortex and engaged. And so you're less in this fight or flight mode.
Mhm.
So, meaning, if I'm really having a hard day with sadness or anger or frustration, I'll
Right.
just through the day also be naming it frustration, anger, whatever it is,
Right.
and letting my amygdala kind of calm down. So
Wow.
that's a big one for me.
So that is so counterintuitive because I would almost feel like if it was one of these emotions that we think of as quote negative, even though there's no such thing, right? All emotions are helpful. They're telling us something. But, something like frustration or anger or sadness, I would think that naming it and sort of like recognizing it and saying hello to it would almost like send you into a place of like more anxiety of like, why am I feeling frustrated? Why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling sad? And like that would go on throughout the day. Is that not what happened? I mean,
Right. No, you would think so. But what the science shows is that it actually, the more you suppress the emotions, the more your body's physiology is activated. And
oh,
so, not only that, they've showed that this is just a little aside that you also
mhm,
activate other people's physiology. They can tell that your
mhm.
unsettledness makes them unsettled.
Yeah.
And so, no, I mean, it actually does matter to name them. And you can do as easy as I'm saying, just name. You could even imagine them. You could name them and put them in a bubble and imagine them blowing away or
Hmm.
in a cloud float away and just
Hmm.
whatever. It's not saying that you don't have them. It's just
Right.
saying, here you are. I
Right.
think of it as the same way as if you look something straight in the eye, a person who's threatening or an emotion, it loses power. And
Ah,
so it loses the power over your threat center, is how it
uh-huh.
works.
I love
So,
how you describe that. That's really
yeah,
helpful.
I
Right.
just do
So,
it kind of in many ways, right, through the
mhm,
day. And it's almost like I'm saying, sadness, I see you. I got you. You're there.
mhm.
I'll get to you when I'm in therapy or whatever, like I don't have
Right.
time for you right now.
Right.
But it feels hard. But if I name you, you have less power. I see
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You're not this thing that's taken me over.
Right, and it's not this constant threat of, like, sneaking up behind me, "I see you, you're not, like, hidden in the bushes," type of thing,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, okay, that makes sense to me, although, again, counterintuitive, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. So I think that's probably a really good technique. Some of the other ones that I think we should talk about is probably seasonal adjustments, we've talked a little bit about it, but, again with light and hormones that just realizing as the days get longer and the time changes you want to sync up with the path of the sun, so kind of follow that as your rule. It's an easy way to sort of adjust. When the sun is going to sleep, you go to sleep. When the sun's waking up, you wake up, like within reason. But that's a
Yeah.
good gauge, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I would love to hear your tips on this because
Mhm.
I feel like I've gotten really good at syncing up with winter
Yeah.
season. So they used to
Mhm.
be a time where I got really depressed because of the darkness. And
Mhm.
now I've really come to like really appreciate a time to hibernate and pull
Mhm.
back and to
Mhm.
recharge.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask you is the
Yeah.
summertime
Yeah.
is actually, it's my favorite season. I'm a summer loving girl,
Yeah.
but it can be hard for me sometimes because where I live, it's daylight till 10.
Yeah.
And then, the sun rises very early.
Mhm.
And so, if I really just went to sleep with the sun and woke up with the sun, I wouldn't get enough sleep. And so,
Right.
but I understand that you can't, you need to adjust, but it's
Right.
hard for me when it's so sunny and warm. My
Right.
energy is all outward. So
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
the things you tell people sort of Ayurvedically to do to
Mhm.
kind of also help balance? It's almost like it feels like a very activated state.
Yes, and it is, and it is. And I think the point here, so I'll start with this is a very good question. People ask this all the time. The first thing to remember is that if you sync with nature, you're going to have these natural fluctuations throughout the year. So we're not saying that like throughout the year, you're going to be up till 10 o'clock at night and
Yeah.
waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? So it's a seasonal thing. So your body can handle it better. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I usually just put into sort of like, kind of a subconscious rule is that like I try to get into bed no matter what time of the year it is by 9:30 p.m.
Mhm.
latest. Doesn't matter if the
Mhm.
sun is out or not. I just try and stick to that bedtime. And then I really do more adjustment with my morning time routine, like sort of like when I'm waking up and I wake up with the sun. I find it very difficult to wake up when the sun is not out, when it's dark. I find that really challenging. So that's my second suggestion. And then the third is, sort of like lean into that energy. I think that, having that energy of summer of, it's outward, it's energetic, you're out with people, you're doing things outside, like enjoy it and don't stress out about it. But again, if you have sort of that like, top sort of like that time that you're not going to go past of being outdoors and social and most nights anyway of 9:30, I think that can keep you in check. That's like the simple answer from my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's helpful. I think, I can find myself just wanting to do so much more,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I think that, again, leaning into that, it's interesting. This is bringing up a conversation I had with someone in Iceland when I went a year and a half ago. And we were talking to them because we were in Iceland in December. Okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, they had just a couple hours of daylight. Like, I mean, the sun was setting at 3:30, literally, and not coming up till 11:30. It was really interesting. And so we were talking to a lot of the locals and saying, like, how do you deal with this? Because this is extreme of that seasonal affective stuff going on for us, here in the Northern Hemisphere. Like they have the extreme. And the answer was is we just adjust with the time of year. We just accept that that's the way it is and we lean into it. And so, in the summer when we have like basically, 20 hours of daylight, we just lean into it and we do lots of stuff. And then, I mean,
Mm.
and again, they have extremes, right? So they can do this.
Yeah.
And then when the days are shorter, they just lean into that and they're indoors more and they go to sleep more. And, you know, so I think it's kind of it's a nice message of like, just kind of lean into it and be okay with it. It doesn't have to be that strict, but
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
like that.